based on the fact that I had information substantiating that the Earth's tilt was in the midst of a major disaster, I went to the law library and began to do some research on what type of disaster or pre-disaster assistance would be available given the inevitable consequences of the continuing Earth shift. And what I found was under the United States Code, the Stafford Pre-Disaster Mitigation Act, under subsection 5133, it discusses a small impoverished community, a community of 3,000 or fewer individuals that is economically disadvantaged. So given that we don't have I don't have the money to prepare and build a bunker and make it nice and comfortable and habitable for a number of years, I know that they have it because of the National Pre-Disaster Mitigation Fund, where everybody that has died and not left a will, and no one really was there to claim the property, it went into that fund since the late 60s. Well, at any rate, I also found that FEMA has the specific function of mitigating the potential damages to individuals, even if it means that they will relocate us and evacuate us and provide us with food, water, shelter, and rebuild a community and allow us to function on our own and return to as much a normal life as we can given the circumstances, and to protect against future hazards. And since the only way we're going to be able to survive is to build habitable, comfortable bunkers inside of the mountains, in the caves up there by NORAD, then it's their responsibility to get that done. I continue to study the potential hazardous health effects of radiation exposure, and I learned that ionizing radiation damages our genes, and large doses can cause cell death, and that children are more susceptible to radiation because they have a higher rate of cellular proliferation and a higher number of future cell divisions. So I knew that our children, and quite naturally the elderly and infirm, would be more susceptible to radiation sickness, and we would be losing them first. The signs of radiation sickness are lethargy, nausea, and vomiting. Cell death is followed by intractable nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dehydration, electrolyte imbalances. So different types of heat-related illnesses, as well as the cellular damage that it causes. So I knew that as the Earth's tilt continued to decrease, that the radiation will continue to increase. And radiation injury comes from the fact that radiation refers to high energy electromagnetic waves, X-rays, gamma rays, particles. See, that right there is the solar wind. That's cosmic radiation right there. It even says that radiation is exposure to penetrating radiation but not radioactive materials. For example, no contamination is involved. Typically gamma rays and X-rays are involved. Sources: people are constantly exposed to low level of natural radiation, background radiation. Background radiation includes cosmic radiation, much of which is blocked by the atmosphere. Thus exposure is greater for people living at high altitudes and during airplane flights. So right there, since our tilt is not where it's supposed to be, then our atmosphere is not blocking what it normally blocks. So we are being irradiated by cosmic radiation right now, and our children again are more susceptible to that, so they're suffering for the fact that many of us are sitting on our thumbs. And since we live in Colorado and we're at the highest altitude in the United States, we're getting more irradiated. That's why they let us smoke marijuana out here, because that's one of the things they give people for chemotherapy treatments. They were the first ones that received the medical marijuana licenses. Well, at any rate, protection from radiation exposure is accomplished through minimizing the time of exposure, maximizing the distance from the source, and using shielding. So you can't stay in the sun all day just because it's nice outside. And it says, if at all possible, after radiation release, evacuation of the area of exposure should be undertaken. And it says, when evacuation is not possible, taking shelter in a concrete or metal structure, for example, basement, can confer some protection. So we have to evacuate and get inside those mountains, because those mountains are made of stone and that blocks radiation.